Where do the tribes of Israel truly end, and who decides their fate? For centuries, we've been led to believe that the lost tribes vanished into the annals of time. But could they still exist among us, hidden, transformed, and perhaps even manipulated? In this video, we peel back the layers of deception and intrigue surrounding Israel's missing sons. Why have certain narratives been silenced? What shocking truths lie beneath the surface that challenge everything we think we know about identity, heritage, and power? The story of the tribes of Israel is one woven into the fabric of ancient history, a tale that begins in the land of Canaan, where the 12 tribes were formed under the leadership of Jacob, who was renamed Israel. But as we dive deeper into this history, we confront a haunting question. What happened to the lost tribes of Israel? Where do they truly end, and who holds the power to define their fate? Our journey begins during a time of unity, the era of the United Monarchy, around 1050 to 930 BCE. Israel was a land of tribes, a patchwork of communities bound together under the leadership of Kings Saul, David, and Solomon. This was a period marked by both strength and ambition, where a distinct national identity began to emerge. Yet this unity was fleeting. After Solomon's death, the kingdom fractured, splitting into two: the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. The 10 tribes in the north, Reuben, Simeon, Ephraim, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, and Joseph, faced a tumultuous future. As the northern kingdom struggled with internal strife and idolatry, it caught the eye of a rising power, the Assyrian Empire. In the 8th century BCE, the Assyrians emerged as a formidable force, their military campaigns sweeping through the region. They sought to exert control over Israel, a kingdom rife with rebellion and instability. The threat of invasion loomed large, and tensions escalated. In 722 BCE, that threat became reality. The Assyrians launched a brutal campaign against Israel, besieging its capital, Samaria. The city fell after a grueling 3-year siege, marking the end of the northern kingdom. But this wasn't just a conquest. It was a systematic dismantling of a society. The Assyrians employed a ruthless strategy known as population displacement. They deported a significant portion of the Israelite population, men, women, and children, scattering them across the vast expanse of the Assyrian Empire. Skilled laborers, artisans, and the elite were removed from their land, leaving a void in the cultural and societal structure of Israel. As Assyrian authorities resettled foreign populations into the region, the once distinct identity of the Israelite tribes began to blur. New cultures, languages, and religions intermingled, creating a mosaic that diluted the heritage of the lost tribes. Over time, the tribes that once thrived in the northern kingdom faded into obscurity. The consequences of this dispersion echoed through history. The destruction of the northern kingdom became more than a military defeat. It transformed into a narrative steeped in religious significance. The stories of the lost tribes became woven into the fabric of Jewish theology, stirring hopes of redemption and a messianic return. In the centuries that followed, the narrative of the lost tribes captured the imagination of many. Various groups across the world began to claim descent from these lost lineages. Communities like the Beta Israel of Ethiopia and the Bene Menashe of India emerged, each with their own stories and cultural practices that resonated with the ancient tales of Israel. Today, as genetic testing and research seek to unravel the mysteries of ancestry, the question remains: Who truly defines the identity of the lost tribes? Is it history, faith, or the voices of those who feel a connection to this ancient narrative? As we delve deeper into the story of the lost tribes of Israel, we encounter an intricate tapestry of myths and legends that have evolved over centuries. The question arises: what role do these myths play in shaping our understanding of the tribe's fate? The mythology surrounding the lost tribes is as rich as it is diverse. These narratives, steeped in cultural significance, often blur the lines between history and legend. They tell tales of heroic journeys, hidden identities, and the enduring hope of a return to the Promised Land. Many ancient texts, including the Talmud and various Jewish mystical writings, reference the lost tribes. They speak of their fates with a mix of reverence and intrigue, suggesting that these tribes did not simply vanish, but transformed into new peoples, adapting to their environments while retaining echoes of their Israelite heritage. Throughout history, numerous communities around the world have claimed ties to the lost tribes. From the Pashtuns in Afghanistan to the indigenous peoples of the Americas, many groups have sought to link their identities to these ancient tribes. Each claim often serves a purpose: strengthening cultural identity, asserting political legitimacy, or fostering community cohesion. In many cultures, the stories of the lost tribes are passed down through oral traditions, where they become larger-than-life narratives filled with adventure and mystique. These tales often emphasize themes of exile, survival, and a longing for home, resonating deeply with the experiences of diasporic communities. However, the quest to uncover the truth behind these myths has sparked debates among historians and anthropologists. Some argue that these claims reflect genuine historical connections, while others see them as modern constructs, born from a desire to reconnect with a lost heritage. For example, the stories of the Beta Israel in Ethiopia and the Bene Menashe in India have gained significant attention in recent decades. Both communities have rich traditions that they believe link them to the ancient tribes of Israel. But as researchers investigate these claims, they often face the challenge of distinguishing between historical fact and the evolving mythology that surrounds them. With the rise of genetic testing, some hope to validate these connections through science. Yet, even genetic evidence can be complex. While it may reveal shared ancestry, it doesn't necessarily confirm the narratives these communities hold dear. What remains clear is that these myths have a powerful impact on cultural identity. They provide a sense of belonging and continuity for those who feel connected to the lost tribes. In many ways, the stories surrounding these tribes serve as a bridge, linking past to present and individual to collective identity. Who claims to have discovered these lost descendants? Throughout history, various groups and individuals have asserted that they have found the lost tribes, each weaving their own narratives of connection, discovery, and identity. From ancient times to the modern era, the allure of the lost tribes has captivated explorers, missionaries, and historians alike. Their stories often begin with bold claims, laden with a mix of excitement and skepticism, as they set out to uncover what was thought to be lost to time. One of the most notable claims emerged in the 19th century when a British missionary named James Turner reported the existence of a group in India known as the Bene Menashe. He asserted that these people were descendants of the tribe of Manasseh, who had been lost to history. This claim ignited interest and debate, prompting further exploration into their origins. The Bene Menashe maintain rich cultural traditions that echo ancient practices, from their agricultural methods to their observance of Jewish holidays. Their beliefs about their Israelite ancestry provide a profound sense of identity, and they have sought recognition from the Jewish community in Israel. Similarly, the Beta Israel community in Ethiopia has long claimed descent from the tribe of Dan. Their unique customs, oral traditions, and practices reflect a distinct cultural identity that they believe links them to the ancient tribes. In the 20th century, this claim gained global attention, leading to the immigration of thousands of Beta Israel to Israel in a series of operations, including Operation Moses in the 1980s. But these claims do not come without controversy. The stories of the Bene, Menashe, and the Beta Israel have faced scrutiny from scholars and community leaders. Critics question the historical validity of their assertions, often challenging the evidence that supports their claims. Academic debates have arisen regarding the authenticity of these identities. Are they genuinely descendants of the lost tribes, or are their narratives modern adaptations shaped by the desire for belonging? Such discussions often reveal the delicate balance between cultural identity and historical accuracy. With the advent of genetic testing, the question of lineage has gained a new dimension. Some researchers have begun to analyze the DNA of individuals from these communities, searching for links to ancient Israelite ancestry. Yet, the results can be complex and sometimes inconclusive, raising more questions than they answer. While genetic studies may offer insights into ancestry, they cannot capture the lived experiences and cultural narratives that define these communities. The stories of the Bene, Menashe, and Beta Israel are not merely about genetic connections. They are about identity, resilience, and the enduring legacy of the tribes. The echoes of the lost tribes resonate through communities around the world, shaping their identities and reinforcing connections to a shared ancient past. Across continents, from Africa to Asia and beyond, there are communities that believe they are descendants of the lost tribes. Their cultural practices, folklore, and traditions often reflect elements that they assert connect them to ancient Israel. These echoes of heritage serve not just as reminders of their past, but as pillars of their present identity. Take the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, for example. Their customs, which include traditional farming methods and unique religious practices, reflect a deep-rooted sense of belonging to the ancient tribes. For them, the observance of Jewish holidays and rituals is more than just cultural. It is an act of reclaiming their heritage, a way to connect with their ancestors who once roamed the lands of Israel. Similarly, the Bene Menashe community in India celebrates their ancestral ties through festivals, songs, and dances that they believe echo the traditions of their forebears. Their narrative is steeped in the belief that they are not merely a remnant of the past, but a living testament to the endurance of the tribes, continuing the story that began millennia ago. These communities often employ symbols, clothing, and artifacts that they believe connect them to the biblical narrative. Whether it's a particular style of dress or traditional tools, these elements serve as tangible links to their claimed ancestry, reinforcing their identity and belonging in a modern world. However, the assertion of cultural echoes is not without its complexities. Anthropologists and cultural historians have delved into these practices, seeking to understand how much of this heritage has been preserved versus how much has been shaped by external influences over the centuries. Some scholars argue that cultural practices evolve over time, influenced by local customs, societal changes, and interactions with neighboring communities. This raises important questions. How do we differentiate between ancient traditions and adaptations made over time? And what does this mean for the identity of those who claim descent from the lost tribes? As we delve into the cultural echoes of the lost tribes of Israel, we arrive at an essential intersection: identity politics. In today's world, where identity is often a battleground for recognition and legitimacy, the claims of descent from the lost tribes take on new significance, sparking debates and discussions that resonate far beyond their communities. Identity politics encompasses the ways in which groups assert their identities in the face of historical narratives and social dynamics. For communities claiming lineage from the lost tribes, such assertions are not merely about heritage. They are intertwined with issues of rights, recognition, and belonging in a complex global landscape. Take the Beta Israel community as a case in point. Their struggle for recognition in Israel has been a poignant illustration of identity politics in action. As they sought to immigrate to Israel, they faced significant challenges, including debates over their Jewish status and cultural legitimacy. Their claim to Jewish identity is deeply rooted in their belief that they are descendants of the tribe of Dan, a connection that has shaped their narrative for generations. Yet, this claim has met resistance, as some within the broader Jewish community question the validity of their ancestry, viewing it through the lens of historical and theological debate. Similarly, the Bene Menashe community in India has fought for recognition and acceptance. Their assertion of descent from the tribe of Menashe is a crucial aspect of their identity. Yet, they have faced significant hurdles in their quest for immigration to Israel. The question of who gets to define their identity has become a central theme in their struggle. These struggles underscore a broader theme in identity politics: the tension between self-identification and external validation. Who has the authority to determine the legitimacy of a group's claims to identity? Is it the community itself, with its lived experiences and narratives, or the scholars and leaders who shape public discourse? Scholarly discourse plays a significant role in shaping perceptions of these communities. While some researchers advocate for the recognition of these groups' claims based on cultural practices and oral histories, others argue for a more critical examination of their assertions, leading to heated debates within academic circles. In a world where identity can be a source of pride or a point of contention, the stories of the lost tribes serve as powerful symbols of resilience and hope. They challenge us to reconsider how we define belonging and who gets to tell these stories. As we traverse the intricate landscape of identity politics surrounding the lost tribes of Israel, we find ourselves at a crucial junction: the realm of scholarly debates. Here, history, anthropology, and theology intersect, leading to discussions that can shape public perception and influence the identities of entire communities. Scholarly debates about the lost tribes often center around the authenticity of claims made by various communities. Historians, anthropologists, and religious scholars scrutinize the narratives, seeking to discern historical fact from myth, and often arriving at divergent conclusions. For instance, some scholars advocate for the historical legitimacy of groups like the Beta Israel and the Bene Menashe, arguing that their claims are rooted in historical experiences and cultural practices that resonate with ancient traditions. They emphasize the importance of acknowledging these communities' narratives as valid parts of the broader story of the tribes of Israel. Others, however, approach these claims with skepticism, calling for more rigorous evidence to support assertions of descent. They point to the complexities of migration, cultural exchange, and the adaptations that communities undergo over centuries, raising important questions about how we define and measure heritage. The advent of genetic testing has added another layer to these debates. Some studies suggest potential links between certain modern populations and ancient Israelites, prompting discussions about the role of genetics in establishing identity. However, genetic evidence alone cannot capture the rich tapestry of cultural identity, which is often defined by shared narratives, traditions, and community experiences. The richness of cultural identity cannot be reduced to genetic markers. It is shaped by lived experiences, oral histories, and the interplay of various influences over time. For many communities claiming descent from the lost tribes, their identity is profoundly tied to their historical narratives and cultural practices, which have persisted despite the challenges of migration and assimilation. The ongoing scholarly debates have implications beyond academia. They influence public perception and the legitimacy of claims made by communities, impacting everything from immigration policies to cultural recognition. As scholars dissect these narratives, they hold significant power in shaping the discourse surrounding identity. For many Jewish communities, the concept of the lost tribes is intertwined with messianic prophecies. Throughout history, the belief in the eventual return of these tribes has fueled hopes of restoration and redemption. The idea that the lost tribes may one day reunite with the Jewish people is a powerful narrative that speaks to the longing for a unified identity. The Hebrew Bible contains several references to the tribes, particularly in prophetic texts that speak of their restoration. Passages in the book of Isaiah and the book of Ezekiel evoke images of a future gathering of the scattered Israelites, fostering a sense of anticipation among believers. These texts have inspired generations to seek out the lost tribes, viewing their discovery as a fulfillment of divine promise. For many communities, the narratives surrounding the lost tribes serve as a source of inspiration and strength. The belief that their ancestors once roamed the lands of Israel imbues cultural practices with spiritual meaning, transforming celebrations and rituals into expressions of heritage and hope.